On tonight's episode of Fin Too Deep, can you believe it? It's the 5th annual Fin Too Deep mock draft with me and Neal Driscoll. We've handpicked all 102 picks of the first 3 rounds. Plus, we'll tell you how we see the 4th and to the 7th round shaking out for the Miami Dolphins. Man, it's going to be a lot of draft talk tonight. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. And as always, let's get into this.
Touchdown! You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown.
And he will score! Field down the near side, man open, touchdown! The run from Tagovailoa. Touchdown!
He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan.
Let's go!
You're listening to Fin Too Deep.
Tua back to throw. Blitz coming. They get to him. No, he takes off running. And he's in. Touchdown, Miami.
With the 6th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jalen Waddle.
Giving you unfiltered, informed, and controversial takes on the Miami Dolphins and the NFL Draft. Here's Reason and Neal.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here for another one on this Tuesday evening as we are under 48 hours away from the NFL draft starting, man. For people like me and you, Neal, who talk about prospects since like August and July, this is a good time of the year, man. It feels like now we get to see our work come to fruition. You know, can you believe now we started it a year before we started Fin Too Deep officially, but this is our 5th annual mock draft.
Man, time flies when you're having fun, man. But no, it's the best sports week of the year for me, man. I love the draft. I love the kind of the saga and the stories that are there. And, you know, I think it's really interesting. This is the first year that I can remember where everybody still owns their first round pick. Like, I think that's crazy. Now, I think there will be movement and teams that will trade, but I do think it's pretty crazy to think that every team right now has a pick in the first round. And, you know, I think we all know what the first 2 picks are going to look like. Then the Giants come on the clock. Smart money says that the GM wants to take a pass rusher, but now the owner steps in and wants to get a quarterback.
Yeah.
That's where the draft starts to me. Now we're hearing rumors that Ashton Jeanty is on the Jags radar at 5. And, you know.
And I think they're legit.
I think it's legit too. Liam Cohen, for offensive mind, is the head coach. ETN's kind of been a disappointment contract year, but man, this is it. I always think that this, you go to bed, you put your head on the pillow 2 more nights, and it's draft day. So I mean, we're getting close, man, and I can't wait. And the Dolphins pick 13 has historically done them well. Christian Wilkins, Laramie Tunsil, obviously it's what Marino wore. Like, I'm hoping that this could be a foundation for change and getting this football team a little tougher.
Yeah, man. I cannot wait to see how this all pans out. And there's like just a lot of stuff is coming out, You got the Will Johnson stuff, which I got a 3 takes episode probably coming tonight-ish, maybe tomorrow morning or whatever, but I got a lot of draft nuggets in there, and there's a lot of stuff about Will Johnson going on right now, and if everything's legitimate, what the knee issue has been flagged for. Man, it's and here's another question. If Jeanty goes, let's say he goes to the Jags, where does Mason Graham slide to?
Right. Right? Look, dude, there's 32 GMs that nose are growing like Pinocchio right now. Everyone's lying. Like, there's a lot of misinformation out there right now. Teams aren't going to show their hands before the draft week. But every player that goes before the Dolphins that shouldn't, to me, is great because it's going to give the Dolphins a lot of options at 13. And we've said this for months. Like, the thing I think that I get excited about for this draft is the Dolphins don't really have a lot of opportunity to mess it up, right? Like, the board's going to fall the way it does at 13. And when you're picking, I think, where Miami is, sure, you keep need in mind, but you also really look at best player available. And, I've heard pretty bluntly that I'm crazy if I don't think Mykel Williams is going to the top 10. Well, I don't have Mykel Williams as a top 10 prospect. So if he does, great.
Yeah, I don't have him going to the top 10 either.
I've also been told that I'm crazy if I don't think McMillan's going to the top 10. Well, only 10 players can go in the top 10. So people are going to squeeze down, right? So, for me, and you're going to see a common theme, I think, between both of us here is that you're going to think we're Homer Michigan Wolverine fans here when we start, because, to be frank, there's 3 guys that are going to go in the top 15 that I would love to be Miami Dolphins. So let's push those Wolverines down the board into our laps.
Yeah, and I mean that's what I think we're trending towards, man. I think that's exactly what we are trending towards, is with one of those Michigan players, man. And I said it on Twitter today. First of all, I think there's a real possibility Neal Jade Barron's gone. I mean, everyone wants to talk about San Francisco with Will Johnson. They lost Charvarius Ward and Hufanga. Why wouldn't they want someone who could play multiple roles in a zone-based defense as much as we would? It would just make sense. And, I mean, you think they aren't salivating on the athletic profile of a Jade Barron? I think he's in play at 11 for real, because I don't think Membo – here's the deal. I think Campbell goes to 4. I think Membo to the Raiders or the Jets is legit.
Or Saints, right? With Ryan Ramczyk retiring?
I don't think he gets there, though.
Yeah, I don't.
The Jets or the Raiders. I think there's a real possibility Jeanty goes 5, and the pivot is Membo at 6.
Right. Look, I think that could happen. And that's where, like, again, the draft starts at 3. It's going to be interesting because
Shedeur falls, though.
Shedeur's fallen.
Yeah.
Shedeur's fallen. He's fallen big time. I
got a team trading up for him in my mock.
Okay,
but to get ahead of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he's falling. I think he's falling.
Oh, he's fallen. I mean, look, just a couple months ago, a lot of people were talking QBs 1 and 2, right? Like, I always thought that was rich for Shedeur. If you follow me, I'm not a big Shedeur guy. I still would be shocked if he doesn't go round 1. I think he deserves that. I do wonder if there's some baggage with his father and everything that some teams are probably afraid of. But I also think that
did you see Ricky at it again?
No.
So Ricky tweeted out today that the Saints, implied the Saints are ready to reach at 9. So I told him, that's what I hit him up. I said, yo, bro, in the right environment, I think Dart could be special. He said, bro, it's not Dart. And it's not Shedeur. I said, God damn, it's Milroe, isn't it?
Dude, I'm telling you, man.
I'm like, wow. Dude, that's the worst situation he could go to, bro. Worst situation. Cap hell. Chris Olave. You think Tua's got and Kendall Fuller have concussion issues. How many did Chris Olave have just one last year alone? Remember? And how bad were they, dude? Didn't he have like 3 last year or like 2 in like 2 weeks and they shut him down?
I'm probably the biggest
He's had like
Milroe
6
fan.
Yeah, he's had 6 concussions since Ohio State or something like that, Neal. Like, and who's your tight end? Foster Moreau? And Alvin Kamara's over the hill. Ryan Ramczyk retired. Now, they still do have a good line. They got McCoy, Ruiz. I don't think Penning's worked out the way they want to.
No, he didn't.
They got that other – who's the other tackle? Their other tackle's decent, too.
I'm drawing a blank, man.
They drafted him.
Yeah.
Anyways, the point of the matter is – I think that'd be a terrible situation for Jalen because Derek Carr, remember the rumors are Derek Carr might miss the whole season, bro. What's that going to push? They're going to push Jalen to start year 1. He's the last. Dude, Jalen and Dart have the highest ceilings, But out of the top 5 quarterbacks, Milroe was the last one you want starting in year 1, bro. You want that guy, and he's brilliant. Not enough people talk about this with Jalen Milroe. I don't know if you know this. Do you know anything about his education?
No.
Jalen Milroe is a 4.0 GPA and has a master's degree in sports management. So he's a smart cat, bro. He just needs reps and he needs tape work. And that's it. So, but he needs time, bro. Like, he's not ready as a passer to attack defenses in year 1. You got, dude, people got to take, there's a reason why Favre hit, Rodgers hit, Love looks like he's going to hit, because Green Bay does it the right way, bro. They don't rush the process, dude.
Right. Well, look, that would be, I'm a big Jalen Milroe fan. That would be a reach of epic proportions, but I'm all for it because
again, shout out to Ryder McConville, Talisi Fuaga.
Oh, Fuaga. Yeah, there you go. That's what a miss.
Shout out to Ryder. I'm gonna have him on the channel after the draft too, by the way. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, man, but that look, dude, let it happen. Like, that's why I love the draft though, because this shit like happens out of nowhere. Like, right? Yeah. Like, it happens every year out of nowhere. Dude, let Dart go, let Milroe, let Sander, let them all go before pick 13. I'm all about letting whoever we want get pushed into our lap. So, yeah, man, the Saints are probably the franchise that I envy the least, to be honest. I think they're setting themselves up for a ugly long rebuild around the corner here.
Listen, I've called Ibuka a sleeper, and if people have been listening to me long enough, I've got a Patreon update that's coming with all of this draft info in it that I was teasing earlier. And there's a real big update about a potential sleeper at 13. And I've mentioned this cat multiple times before on X and on my channel. So if you've been paying attention, it's not Ibuka, but yeah, I agree. Watch him draft Ibuka. But let's talk about that. Sleepers. I named a couple today. Some deep sleepers, that makes sense. You got a guy like Clay Webb out of Jacksonville State, can move pretty well. High football IQ, a lot of power to his game. I think he's a deep sleeper. Another one, we're corner needy if they want to double up. I know he's been rising a little bit, but, the consensus has been you could probably get him between 125, 150. Zoff Frazier from UTSA is an interesting. He's kind of a specimen at the position with some ball hawking upside. Who are some, I've asked Jordan Reed. I've asked Kyle Krabs. I've asked everyone who I've had on this, so I'm waiting for you in this show to ask you this. Who are some deep sleepers you would tell Dolphin fans, watch these guys in case between rounds 5 to 7 or maybe even late in the 4th?
The first thing that jumps out to me is Oregon's Jamari Caldwell. I think Caldwell is a guy that
made my top 15 defensive tackles, bro.
He reminds me of a little bit of Michael Pierce, who was a guy that the Ravens selected in the 5th round and ended up being a key contributor on the front. I think he's a day one player that you could probably get 4th and 5th round. I'm a big fan of him in watching some Derek Harmon and watching Jeanty against Oregon. I watched Caldwell, and he definitely popped. I responded to your tweet today, Quincy Riley, the cornerback from Louisville, who we just so happen to have be one of the 6 teams that have scheduled time to meet with him. He's extremely fluid, man. I love that guy. I actually love him enough that I'm okay if they take him at pick 98. I think he's the kind of guy that could develop into a starting corner in this league.
My 11th corner, I think.
Yeah, it's a pretty weak cornerback class. So I think if you can get a guy like that in round 3, he's a good player. I'll say this. I think due to the injury at the combine that Gunnar Helm's become completely underrated as a tight end.
Yes, I agree.
I've seen him fall in the 4th and 5th round in mock drafts, and again, we talk about this all the time.
Hot take, top 5 tight end in this class, brother.
Well, you think about this all the time, right? Like, we talk about how the combine, can help people with when they run plays fast. Well, if you run a slow one, it can hurt you. But like play tape and running in underwear is a different speed. I see a lot faster of a player at a Gunnar Helm than I do. And then one safety that I like, who's more probably an end of round 3, early round 4 guy that I don't think gets a lot of love, is Ohio State's Lathan Ransom. I really like him as a fit for this defense. And,
I like coming up in the box, Neal, sticking with safety. And I think you've heard me talk about him before, but I had him high on my safety board too. Man, I love Hunter Waller from Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin. Bro. Good dude. Yeah, good player, man.
I think he's instinctual. You know what I mean? Like, I think he can make, he's really effective against the run. I think he's decent in coverage. I think he's highly underrated, bro.
Yeah. One guy that I would love for the Dolphins to look at round 4 with one of those 2 picks is Andrew Armstrong, the receiver from Arkansas. I think he has a ton of upside, too, as a pass catcher.
What do you think of I believe, was it Justin Reed? Jordan Reed. I think it was Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed. One of the people I asked, I'm pretty sure it's Jordan Reed. It was either Jordan Reed or Devin Jackson. They said Dante Thornton out of Tennessee as a deep sleeper.
Dude,
and there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys in the chat who like him. So what do you think about Dante Thornton?
Yeah, dude, he's a riser. I mean, look, they had a lot of weapons at Tennessee. They had Brew McCoy, they had Squirrel White,
Yeah.
they had what's the guy, Chris Brazzell. Like, they had a lot going on, and obviously their quarterback left for less money to UCLA. But I think that that guy, is probably a guy that goes in the early fourth round, and I think he's a dude that, as a number 3 receiver, number 4 receiver early, catch a couple balls as a rookie and develop into a decent depth player.
Bro,
Big guys, boy, I know a lot of people.
I think he's going to go as a UDFA, bro. I think he's going to go to his UDFA and pick where he goes and the money. I think that weight's going to scare a lot of teams.
It would scare me. That 460 pounds, man, that's a lot of weight for a guy who's going to be playing football, and I don't like it in the Florida heat. So, you know what I mean? It's scary. Noah Williams, California, I saw that pop up. I do like him a lot.
Wally,
Minnesota. Yeah.
Corner. He's a stud, and he's a
and look, we're in the cornerback market, obviously. So,
yeah.
And I don't think it's just, hey, if we get one in the first round, we're done. I think that this team needs a couple. So when you look at 2 4s, 2 5s, RJ Harvey, I do like him a lot.
Yeah, I like RJ Harvey too.
Yeah. That's the fun of this, man, is seeing who falls in the 4th round, the 5th round. Do any of these guys that you have 3rd round grades make their way to the 4th round? Like that, that's to me one of the most fun parts about watching the draft.
And trying to, eventually trade up. You know what I mean?
I really like the other Virginia Tech receiver, Jalen Lane.
Oh, buddy. He can fly too.
Right.
McDaniel's gonna love it.
Oh yeah, he's a fit for this offense.
He's salivating, bro. He's like, holy jeez. It's like my boy, if he gets a shot at Bashul Tootin at the right spot,
dude,
because
4th round for sure.
Can I tell you this?
Sure.
If that guy cleans up the touch of fumbleitis, I honestly think he can turn into a premier back. He's got the size. He'll run through contact. He's got the home run speed. I didn't need to see. See, that's what I'm saying. Everyone's worried about the Will Johnson 40. Do y'all think I needed to see Bashal Tootin run a 40 to know that guy was going to hit the speeds he was hitting? Same thing with Will Johnson, bro. Everyone I talk to, everyone I trust in the scouting community behind the scenes, people who give me info, people who I just trust on their opinions on players, all of them say, yo, he's a 4-4 guy, a late 4-4 guy on film. That's it. I expect him to run between like 4.48, 4.47 to like 4.51, 4.52. That's what I expected from Will Johnson. But I expected the lower end.
Yeah, look at the guys. Like, look, Darius Hayward-Bay went to school 7 miles to my right here at McDonough High School.
David Howard ran a 4. What did David Howard run?
Oh no, I'm talking about Hayward-Bay ran like a 4.38. John Ross ran like a 4.35.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I get it. It's cool because it's another event that adds to the draft, and I do like to see explosive drills.
I can't agree with that.
But no, I think wide receiver is one of the team's biggest needs. To be honest.
Listen, if you're talking about who I think you are, I think McDaniel would actually really like Jaden Blue. If you're thinking who I'm talking about from Texas.
Yeah. Fast, dude. 4.29. Right?
Yeah, man. Oh, man. I can't believe it's almost here. I'm so happy.
Well, dude, I'll say this. We were talking about Emeka Egbuka, and I don't think he'll be the pick at 13. Let's just say in a world, right, that the Rams and Dolphins are talking turkey, and they want Jalen Ramsey back. Maybe it's Ramsey pick 48 and a day 3 pick next year to move up to 26, something like that. If the Dolphins found themselves on the clock again at the end of the first round, Emeka Egbuka would be just what the doctor ordered for this receiving core as a slot receiver that is he's a guy that really complements what we're doing. And to say we don't need a receiver, man, look, Tyreek Hill's done after the season if he makes it through the season. Like, receiver is going to be a need for this football team.
Yeah, but they're another team. Like, I don't know. They pick at 26. Yeah. And then they don't pick till 90.
Picks. Yeah,
they don't pick till 90.
That's the pick that I would watch if Ramsey's flipped for a late day 3 or day 2 pick. I'd look at that pick.
That 90 pick?
Yep.
Because that's what I was looking at in my mock, and I didn't pull the trigger, but that's what I was.
I've been told Rams and Falcons are the 2 teams that have been in the most. See what
Because
happens.
because this person said no receiver. I'm gonna tell you this much: if you had a pick between 48 and 98, and it comes and like the guard has thinned out a little bit or whatever, I don't know. I'll just say this: if Jaden Higgins is on the board, like I don't think he'll make it there though. Like another guy who really struggled, I really struggled leaving out of my top 5 because I think if he goes to the right team and right environment, he's gonna blow the hell up this year. Is Jalen Noel?
Oh yeah, dude. I like him a lot. I like him a lot.
Like
Yeah,
I think
like
he's
him
gonna.
a lot.
Who I had? Who's another guy who would make sense if he was there for the Rams? Man, if Jackson Dart fell to them.
Oh yeah. You know what? I saw something though. I was just watching a video while I was driving over to do this, and whoever was commentating says if you're a Super Bowl contender, you don't take a quarterback at 26.
Yeah.
I'm interested because I do think like Stafford's I love Matt Stafford. He is one of my favorite.
Yeah,
players
but he's getting old,
league.
and they already tried to move off of him, bro.
And he's battled a lot of hits, man, and injuries, and he's had a wife that has had some health scares. Like, who knows, man? Like he could step. I think he could step away from the game at any moment. Like, right? So I do think it's one of those things to keep an eye on. Like, quarterbacks, I didn't project any in my mock, but I do think teams are going to move up at the end. I think the Giants are a team to watch if they don't go Shador. I think Cleveland's a team to watch. I think the Raiders could sneaky be a team to watch. Like, I do think there will be movement for quarterbacks at the end of round 1.
All right, you ready to just reveal this mock and like get into this, man?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right, so let's start off. We'll do you first.
Round 1, and then just kind of go through it real quick.
Yeah. Round 1, you can focus the most time on or whatever because obviously, these round 1 is where the money's at for the NFL.
Well, people don't care who Minnesota takes at 97.
Oh my God, you kill me. All right, here you go. Here, and honestly, bro, I didn't even look at your picks. I wanted to be surprised. I haven't even looked. So this is a first for me. I got the images made, sent them out, didn't even look because I didn't send all the stuff out till like 6:30. I didn't finish mine. So
right,
go ahead.
And I will tell you, man, when you're doing a mock this year, it is hard. It is hard. It is really hard. Like I think this is one of the hardest years to do it because there's not just like a guy like Shamar Stewart at 28. I could see him going 9 if the Saints had an affinity, love for him. So it's really hard to do. I think it's chalk at this point that Cam Ward is going to be a tight. He's probably already bought his house there. And then we know that the Browns are hot and heavy for Travis Hunter, and actually they view him as a receiver first, which I think is something that they desperately need on their offense. I mean, the last true number 1, they had a couple good years with Amari Cooper, but maybe it was Josh Gordon that took the league by storm and couldn't stay out of trouble. The Giants, man, this is such a hard pick because I know the owner wants Shador Sanders, but I think cool heads will prevail. I think Abdul Carter's is a Micah Parsons player, not just because they go to Penn State, but I think he is probably the best outside linebacker pass rusher since Von Miller left A&M. I think he's a game changer. Him and Brian Burns would be beautiful. And then you could probably recoup some compensation for Kayvon Thibodeau if you tried to move him. I think it's not a secret anymore. The Patriots are more than likely, unless Carter falls, going to take Will Campbell, and they're going to try him at left tackle first. Like, he is a guy that he fits that kind of Patriots DNA. I know that, his arms weren't 36 inches long, but like, he's a technician. He's rugged. He plays the game well. They need their offensive line is as bad as it gets. So I think he is. I didn't have the guts to give Jeanty, and it should be Jeanty. I keep spelling it with the R. I think that I didn't have the guts to do it, but I could. I think it's a coin flip, but I do think if they don't go them, they're going to go Mason Graham and solidify that front at 5, leaving Jeanty to go to the Raiders at 6. Which, for 2 years in a row, they would go the best player available route, and it gives them Bowers and Jeanty. Which, when you look at the offense side of the ball, sure, Geno Smith's probably a middle of the pack quarterback, but if you get a good quarterback in there, man, he's going to have some weapons at his disposal. The Jets, this is not the move I would make. I think this is a reach. I've been kind of going at it with some people that I like on the timeline. I think Tyler Warren is completely overrated. Like, the Rob Gronkowski comparisons to me are laughable. I think his ceiling is Dallas Goedert at the next level. I think he is my second tight end. I like the athletic profile of Colston Loveland and his pass catching ability a little bit more. Look, the Jets do have a bare tight end room. It's Jeremy Ruckert, who's been a complete bust for them. Some guy named Storm something that I've never heard of that they just signed. And they need to get some weapons for Justin Fields. And I think a security blanket makes a little sense. Jalen Walker here, like I think this could be either him or Michael Williams. But I do think that the Panthers have their eyes on Georgia players. And I think the versatility that Walker brings, being able to play off ball and play off the edge, is going to be something that the Panthers covet. And I think he's the pick. One of the steals would be Armand Membu to the Saints. And if this did happen, I would love for Chris Greer to pick up the phone and see what the cost of doing business to move up and get Membo would be. Perfect replacement for Ryan Ramczyk, who just retired. I've said this. A Raven scout told me that they compare him favorably to a Marshall Yanda. I think he's a plug and play. I actually think he's a far superior player than Will Campbell. Hearing what you just said earlier, like maybe the Saints do something crazy, but the Bears here, like I think the Bears would die to get Jeanty here, but it's not going to happen. Michael Williams, athletic freak. The NFL likes him way more than I think Twitter does. And, the Bears did a good job of addressing their needs in free agency, getting Tooney, getting Jonah Jackson. I think this becomes a little bit of a luxury pick for them. And you could take a chance on this guy's traits. Kelvin Banks, to me, is a guy who's getting a lot of steam heading up to the draft. He's a guy that I personally wouldn't mind the Dolphins taking because I love the ability for him to be the best pure left tackle in this draft. But Trent Williams is 37 years old, man. He's not getting younger. Injuries have caught up with him. I think they need a contingency plan there. Dallas, I received a text literally 20 minutes ago saying that they're hot and heavy for Walter Nolan, but I think pairing Tet McMillan here with CeeDee Lamb gives Dak Prescott some really nice weapons on the outside. He's got the CeeDee Lamb, who's a top 3-5 receiver in football. Give me the pterodactyl here, Tet McMillan. Then we bring it to our Dolphins. And, look, I think Jedi Barron's definitely in play here. I do. I think Kenny Grant's definitely in play here. But I think that if any team in football has a grasp and a pulse on Will Johnson's injury situation, it's the Dolphins due to their relationship with Drew Rosenhaus. I think that the longevity injury thing, to me, I'm drafting a guy for what he's going to do for me in the next 3 to 5 years, not what he's going to do in 8, right? Like,
Yeah.
Like, so for me, this is a guy that's probably a top 5 player in this draft. He's the best pure corner in this draft. We're obviously have Jalen Ramsey on the trading block. I think this is the home run 8+ move for me. I'm pretty confident. I would put the odds of him being the pick at, probably like 50% at this point. I think it's that likely that he could be the guy. So I'm excited to see. Colts at 14, Colston Loveland. I talked about him earlier. I think the Colts are desperate for a tight end and some more weapons around Anthony Richardson, who's kind of in his boomer bust season here. He's been a major disappointment for the Colts. They have to really figure out something. Loveland, to me, has a lot of upside as a pass catcher. Mike Green is a guy that we talked about it on our last show, the off-field stuff. If it wasn't for the off-field stuff, I think he's going top 10. I think he's probably the second most pro-ready pass rusher in this draft. Highly productive player. The Falcons have spent a lot of time with him. I think he's the guy that they have their eyes on. We'll go to the Cardinals at 16. This is probably a head scratcher. I took this for them mostly because someone I trust very much so told me that the Cardinals really want to find a true receiver to pair with Marvin Harrison. I personally think this is very rich for Matt Golden. He's my wide receiver 6 or 7.
It's my wide receiver 4, yeah.
Yeah, I think that the Cardinals are trying to give Kyler as much as they can on the outside.
Yeah.
Michael Wilson's pedestrian-type player. Greg Dortch is on a 1-year, $3 million deal. Bengals here, they need help on the defense side of the ball, everything they can get. Jedi Barron, to me, is a smart, heady player, helps their secondary. They have Battle and Geno Stone as their safety. Geno Stone's been a big bust since they've signed him. Their corners on the outside are just, they're adequate at best. I mean, Cam Taylor-Britt's a pretty good player. But I think they're
also looking for a playmaker, another playmaker for JoJo.
Yeah, I think that's a good fit. this is a little bit of a reach for me, but this is another thing where I have a little bit of intel that's pushing me this way, and I think that the interior of the Seattle offensive line is piss poor, and I think Gray Zabel is the type of prospect that they think could be the left tackle in a Steven Hutchinson type of mold for them for the next 8 years. So I think that's the pick. Buccaneers, heavy for – I've heard that they actually like Maxwell Hairston, the cornerback from Kentucky, a lot. But I think Jahad Campbell falling into their lap as a replacement to a pretty bare cupboard at linebacker makes a lot of sense.
I've heard Jahad Campbell might fall into day 2 because there's serious issues with both of his shoulders.
Right.
And he's banged up like a lot of linebackers are coming out of Alabama. That's what I just heard, because I was going to have him go in the first, and then I heard that, and I'm like, okay, I dropped into the second in mine because of that. Mm-hmm. I heard the shoulders are legit.
I heard the shoulders.
Yeah,
I've heard the shoulders. Broncos, look, I think this would be Sean Payton's dream to get his hands on Marion Hampton. And and Hampton's my running back 3. I'm a big Quinshon Judkins guy. So, but I do think that there's a lot of people that.
Neal, do you think another running back other than Jeanty should even be going in the first? Because I didn't have one going. I don't think anyone's good enough other than Jeanty. Do you agree?
No, I don't have a first round grade on.
I don't agree with I agree wholeheartedly with your thought process. I'm just saying I think the Broncos are. There's going to be better talent they can take there. I don't know. What do you think?
I think if you get one of the Ohio State guys in round 2, it's Eric Caleb Johnson from Iowa. It's way better value than.
I'd try to add a receiver here to pair with Cortland.
Yeah,
help Bobo.
I mean, and we've talked about this. This is a historically good running back class.
Yeah.
Like to me to do it, like I think Hampton is a really good football player.
So do I.
I don't get the top 20 love for him.
No.
But this is I did this with a predictive mindset, not what I would do.
Yeah, no, I think you might be right. I don't think you might be wrong. I have them going a different direction, but I think you might be right. I think you might be the one that's right out of the two of us.
And here's where I have the fall of Shedeur Sanders at M21 Steelers. Look, their starting quarterback of the season start today is Mason Rudolph, and you have a playoff team that's probably a team that could actually be dangerous in the playoffs. You ain't going anywhere without a quarterback. And I don't think Shedeur Sanders in year 1, but I think Tomlin and the Pittsburgh brass behind the scenes has been at odds about finding a young franchise quarterback. I think Tomlin's the type of guy that the Sanders family has a lot of respect for. And I just think this is a perfect fit for Shedeur. So
can I ask you something?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, let's say a team trades in front of them. Do you think that becomes a problem for a team like the Steelers? Because historically they don't trade up.
Yeah, because I think I think they'd pivot to the guy that I got going to the Chargers. To be honest, that's their type of player. Like Kenny Grant. Look, Harbaugh recruited him to Michigan. Kenny Grant's my number 4 overall player in the draft. And people will tell me I'm crazy. I see a guy that has God-given explosiveness that you shouldn't have being his size. I saw some people question his motor. I think he has the best motor of any defensive lineman in this draft. I think he pursues the ball. He makes violent tackles behind the line of scrimmage. His play strength is unbelievable. He's 21. His upside is absolutely it's staggering what I think this guy can be. I said this today. If I could pick any player in this draft that would be there, because I don't think I would take Abdul Carter over him, and I'd probably take Travis Hunter over, if I'm being honest, but I would take Kenneth Grant for the Dolphins in a heartbeat and not look back, and say the pairing of him and a young Chop Robinson for the next 3 to 5 years with Zach Sealer playing as the veteran in that group would be fun to watch. Packers, I'll be honest, they need a corner, man, and I just they still have Jari Alexander. I just couldn't stomach them taking a corner there. I gave them Derek Harmon. I think Harmon is helps improve their front. They drafted Devontae Wyatt from Georgia a few years back. He's not really lived up to the hype. I think he's in a contract year, so I think Derek Harmon's a guy that they can plug and play there. I have Harrison going to the next pick. The Vikings are one of the hardest teams for me to pick. They
are. But
they always pick a underwhelming corner, and they drafted guys like Cameron Dantzler. Who was one of the young men they drafted? Passed away in a car accident a few years back, but the first round hasn't been good to them. But for them to compete with the Detroit Lions in that secondary, they better have people that they can stick with Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I think they're just desperate to find a corner. The Texans, like, I know they invested in their offensive line, but I do think that Josh Simmons is a guy that, when healthy, is a starting caliber player. I think, unfortunately, due to some health concerns, he might even have to redshirt a little bit. But, you traded away Laramie Tunsil in a horrific trade, in my opinion. And I would say, it just makes a lot of sense. 26, Siobhan Revel. Revel, to me, has a lot of Richard Sherman to him. I think if he wasn't hurt, he's probably going 10 picks higher. He has great ball skills, great size. He could get physical with receivers. I'm a big Revel fan. The Rams are desperate to get somebody. This could change if they make a trade for Jalen Ramsey, obviously. Ravens, man, they've made a history and a living off taking the best player available. This is no different. Imagine Malachi Starks and Kyle Hamilton as your safeties, right? That is gold. I think the Lions want to add something to their defensive front. Shamar Stewart is a guy that he doesn't have gaudy production, but he does have high-level traits. You pair a guy like that with Aiden Hutchinson, and you're cooking with some fire, right? So I think that's a move. Jaden Daniels, to me, he's my pick early to win the MVP this year. I think he is just sensational. They have Debo, who can play the Debo role, right? They have Terry McLaurin, who's Old Faithful, but Father Time's undefeated, and he's been in the league. Terry McLaurin's a lot older than I thought. Yeah. Emeka Egbuka does a lot of the dirty work that I think Jaden Daniels will love. It gives him another weapon, keeps him in the right trajectory. I absolutely hate that I had to mock this because I think Walter Nolan is one of the best 15 players in this draft. Buffalo has needs kind of on their defensive front. If this guy keeps his head on right, this could be maybe one of the best picks in this entire draft. Chiefs, we saw their offensive line in the Super Bowl. It was an embarrassment. Josh Connerly's a guy that's getting a lot of love. I think he could be a plug and play there. And then James Pierce, pick 32. We know the Eagles like to take their pass rushes. They love their trenches. Nolan Smith starting to pay it out for them a little bit. Bryce Huff has not been a good investment that they signed in free agency. Enter James Pierce, who probably is a top 20 talent on tape. Has a little bit of some concerns off the field that haven't fallen. One man's trash is another's treasure. James Pierce paired up with Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter. That's fun.
Listen, I didn't read your draft. Me and you have more than a handful of the same picks. And then me and you have same positions, just different thought processes. I'm going to tell you right now, I got some controversy in my draft.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, reason does it ever go like talk?
Well, my scouting bias is coming into I'm going to be honest, my scouting bias is going to come into with certain players here. Also, I was legitimately researching a lot of teams and what, their writers were saying were the most pressing needs, et cetera, et cetera. So, I stay away from reading mocks because they may influence us, but I was reading articles about what were the needs that these teams were. So that's where I'm at right now. So this is, I present you.
Before you go to yours, question,
yeah.
do you know what your record is for the most successful first round you've ever made in a mock?
I've never gone and looked.
So I turned it in, and there used to be a thing where they collected. One year I got 7 out of 32, which was my best ever by far. One year I think I only got 3. It's hard, man. It's hard because here's what happens, right?
One thing can turn it all.
It changes everything.
And that's how I approached it this year, Neal. And I present to you. Okay.
Here we go. There's
First
your
of all, shout out to South Florida Donnie, says love this time of year. Shout out to Russell. Ask me how I managed to trade down and get both Grant and Donovan Jackson and Siobhan Revel. And no, it wasn't outlandish trades either. That's crazy. That's a haul. And shout out to Penn. She gifted 10 Phinside the NFL memberships. Appreciate you, Penn. Always expanding the Phinside fam. All right. Present to you round 1 and I got some controversy and I got trades.
There you go. Here we go. Good.
Well, I got a trade, but it plays out. So here we go. I got multiple trades throughout the draft, and I got one trade in this. So here is my first round. So I have Cam going 1 as well. I got Travis Hunter going 2. Cleveland believes he's a wide receiver. And add to the fact I think he's going to have some corner packages. Abdul Carter to 3 in New York makes a ton of sense. Will Campbell to 4. You heard Vrabel talk about Will Campbell. You had the same thing. It's just come on. Here's where it gets interesting. I believe the smoke, bro. Bigsby hasn't worked out. I don't think they're going to extend Travis Etienne. I think Ashton, Jeanty, apparently the word is, Neal, they're being strict to BPA this year. And if they're being strict to BPA, Ashton, Jeanty is easily BPA right now on the board, especially when Cam Ward pushes him down, okay?
Right.
So then I have Las Vegas. What are they going to do? Go look at their offensive line. That's all I say. Go look at their offensive line, and that'll give you the answer of what they need to do, okay? Because you got Membo who could play right guard. He could play right tackle, and I think he's athletic enough to play on the left side. Now,
I
look
agree.
at the left tackle,
I agree.
Colton Miller. Who are you going to take? Their right tackle right now, you know him well because I believe he's from Maryland. Is he not, DJ Glaze?
Yeah, Delmar Glaze. Yeah. DJ Glaze, yeah.
Right?
Wow,
and then
he
the right
started?
guard is Dylan Parham. Yeah. So Armand Membo, bro. Like, lock it in.
Yeah.
So now I think the Jets would have went Armand, but now what do they got to pivot with? Tyler Warren. Okay. Look at that tight end room. That tight end room, what is it? Like headlined by, what is it, Jeremy Ruckert? You know what I'm saying? Like
he's awful.
It's not good. They lost Ty Conklin, right? But yeah, it's Jeremy Ruckert is like headlining that. That just makes a ton of sense. And we got the Brock Bowers recency bias, please. 8. I'm going there, bro. Apparently the Carolina Panthers are in love with Ted McMillan.
Well, look, it makes sense, right? Bryce Young needs some targets.
Yes, and looks like, and what worked out? Benching Bryce worked out for them last year, bro. So
I was
maybe
all about
that
trading
furthers
for
the
him if it was
investment.
before.
And listen, Earson is my scouting buddies and the scouting community overall right now, because now they're starting to catch up with the NFL. Ted is believed to be a top 10 pick from what I understand. And anything,
I've heard that too.
you know, like, so I'm going there, baby. See, I'm throwing the curves, baby. Here we go. 9, I'm taking it. Jackson. They got to go quarterback. Derek Carr's not going to play. Who's the most pro-ready with that mess? It is Jackson Dart with that mess. It's not Shedeur. We just saw Shedeur play with poor supporting cast other than Travis Hunter and a few decent receivers out in Colorado. And how did that work out? If you're going to have some guy where there's going to be injuries, Ramchuk retires, injuries start to pile up, Olave's hurt all the time. If you want a guy who's a playmaker and good create, Jackson Dart, I would be more comfortable starting him or Tyler Shuck than Shedeur in year 1, but I wouldn't start Jackson in year 1, but hey, it's the Saints. 10, the Mason Graham slide stops. Chicago Bears. I asked you earlier, where would he slide to? I got him sliding to the Bears. I mean, you go look over at the Bears. Now, people are going to say, okay, well, the Bears, I don't know. They certainly need depth over there, right? They got Javon Dexter and Grady Jarrett in the middle.
Jarrett's old and injury prone.
Yeah, exactly. So you can definitely use Mason Graham in that spot. Number 11, what I say to you, I was kind of setting you up earlier, bro. Jahdae Barron at 11, can play safety, can play corner, on the boundary, in the slot, offers you that versatility. Here's where it gets nice. Matthew Golden. Listen, there's a few people I follow, like Marcus Mosier and such.
Yeah, Marcus, I follow him too.
And it seems like they're high on a receiver. So you had the same idea. You had Ted. I got Ted off the board. Matthew Golden ran a 4.39. He's a Texas boy. Jerry Jones loves big names and flashiness. What's flashier than the 4.39 receiver that the league's high on from your hometown, your home state? Makes sense. Too much. Number 13. I'm going to talk about Will Johnson in my episode of 3 Takes and my channel member update. So Patreon channel members, you'll get what I know on Will Johnson. Let's just say this, bro. Let's say the stuff we're hearing is legitimate and Ross checks it out and it's legitimate. Let's just say that is. Okay? You would go Kenneth Grant. If you've got questions and there's no certainty, go Kenneth Grant. And I have heard since like November, bro, that they're super high on him. And I tell people, if Chris Greer was so in love with Christian Wilkins, what do you think he's going to be for Kenneth Grant?
Right.
The pass rush upside is higher. You know, talk about a gap filler, bro. Holy jeez. You know, He's much stronger than Wilkins was coming out. Wilkins was a good athlete, but this is a freak athlete too,
Yeah, look, yeah, this guy.
Can I say this? You know what Jordan Reed told me, bro? And what Jordan Reed has also said publicly, dude? We need the media needs to be higher on Kenneth Grant. The NFL, from what I understand, bro, I was hearing coming out of the combine, Neal, that some people had Kenneth Grant as their DT1 over Mason Graham on NFL big boards. I legitimately heard this, dude.
Yeah, look, dude, if I was making the pick, I would take Kenny Grant if him and Will Johnson were completely healthy over Will Johnson. I'd operate with the Kenny Grant no matter what. Draft day shout out, right? Like I would. Like I think when you look at the foundation of the Miami Dolphins, right? Yeah. I think Will Johnson is going to be a great corner. I think Kenny Grant is a foundational structural change on how the Dolphins approach building their roster. Yeah. Where you take a guy, like he changes the tone and the identity of your defensive front day one. You're not drafting a guy just to be a run stuffer, right? At 13. You're drafting a guy that could be disruptive, that causes havoc.
Yeah, and that's him. He's a game wrecker, bro.
Dude, watch his tape against Washington from 2 years ago.
In the national championship?
Yeah, and what I like the best about him is when he finishes with force.
Neal, did you watch it? I don't know if you watched. Did you watch his game against Illinois?
Absolutely. Yeah, he was a freaking monster.
Okay, so I tell the people all the time. This is what I say to people. Have you ever seen a guy take on a double team, use one of the blockers to impact the tight end, pulling across the backside to create a cluster to take the running back down in the backfield? Because I have, and that guy was Kenneth Grant, bro. Like when I put that play on Twitter. When you watch that play, like that is insanity. Even the Washington game you're talking about. I talk about that sack that he got on Penix. Bro, He collapsed the pocket and he collapsed the guard with one arm, and then he used the other arm to take Penix down. I'm telling you, and people don't. Reason hates player comps, Neal. You of all people know as I stay away from them. But this is what I'm going to say to you. We're talking about an elite athletic version of Vita Vea potentially here. Like that's what we're talking, like prime Vita Vea, but a more elite athlete is what we're talking about here, bro.
Wait, when you have a combination of mass, explosiveness, and strength, right? This guy is going to be a absolute nightmare for people to block.
And he's durable, bro.
And you got to line up against this guy and go against him all day. Like what I thought was my most impressive thing about the tape when I watched him, he was my favorite tape breakdown of any player in this draft class, is the way he explodes out of his stance. He creates imbalance on the offensive lineman initially because he, as a guy his size, he shouldn't be that explosive. He shouldn't be. And when these guys try to recover, they're already on their heels. And he gets his hands out, these mitts, and pushes with one hand. That type of strength. I read somebody who wrote his play strength isn't great. And I'm like, I asked him, I'm like, well, what did you watch? Because I need to see that. And he's like, I watched a highlight video. And I'm like, dude, don't come on YouTube or on X telling me that you know better because you watched a freaking YouTube highlight video. Like, I don't want to hear that shit. You watch the tape. This guy is like, it's not sexy. But you know what? It still kind of is. And that's what makes him awesome is that you're getting a guy that you're going to throw in the trenches, but you're excited because if you can get that interior pass rush, and we saw, I want to give the kudos to Anthony Weaver. The combination of a Chop Robinson and Kenneth Grant in back-to-back drafts, you know who does that? The Baltimore Ravens do that kind of shit.
Well, especially if you don't know how much Zach Steeler's next deal is going to cost, bro.
And look, I love Zach Steeler. He's probably my third favorite player in the league. I don't know if Zach Steeler's got a long-term future here. Like, I don't know if they're going to pay him the big contract at his age. Like, he might be a trade piece for this team down the road. If this happens, and my guy last year was Jerzon Newton, if you remember that I was counting. This guy is a way better prospect than Jerzon Newton. And he is the
guy. This guy could be Jalen Carter minus the headaches. That's what people don't realize what we're talking about here when you look at Kenneth Grant, man.
I remind people, if you remember that draft when the Giants took Dexter Lawrence, a lot of people are like, oh, that's a boring pick, blah, blah. let this guy be that born pick for us then, because I would take
exactly.
Dexter Lawrence probably over almost anybody but 5 defenders in the league.
Yeah. So then I have, everyone has Loveland. Everyone and their mother has Loveland to the Colts here, but man, they need help up front with that pass rush. I mean, they got Kwity Paye, but then they got like Samson Ibukam. Like they ain't got nothing coming off the edges out there. So I got, and Jalen Walker also offers you linebacker flexibility, but I have them drafting him mainly as an edge with that pass rush upside. So I got Jalen Walker going and falling and going to 14. Will Johnson goes to the Atlanta Falcons. They need desperate help on the boundary. I have them passing on Jalen Ramsey because Will Johnson falls right into the lap. Shamar Stewart, I'm not a huge believer in him. I wouldn't touch him until the second round, but I do see the Arizona Cardinals as another team where right now they do need a lot of pass rush help. I mean, they added Calais Campbell, but he's going to be on a snap count, right? They got Darius Robinson, and then they got, Josh Sweat, Baron Browning. So I could see this being I could see him being taken under the wing of a guy like Calais Campbell and grow him. Colston Loveland, Cincinnati Bengals. I follow Joe Goodberry and a couple people from the Bengals community.
Joe Goodberry's a good follow.
From what I understand, they want to add another weapon pretty desperately here. Colston Loveland, I think he's going to be far better than Gesicki. He's going to make him irrelevant, add you another weapon to that room. Now, here I got a trade. So this is what the trade is. I have Shedeur Sanders going to the Browns after the Browns trade number 33, number 94, and a 2026 first-round pick to the Seattle Seahawks for number 18. Because remember, Jordan Reed set it up here between 15 and 60. You're getting a lot of the same range of talent there. So they move back to the top of the second round to the Seahawks, and they stack up the picks. So I've got Shedeur Sanders being paired with Travis Hunter by the Cleveland Browns. James Pierce, listen, I got Mikel Williams falling. As you see, me and you both had edges going into the last pick. But I got Mikel Williams falling because I'm just not a fan, bro. You know how many scouts I talk to who are like, or people in the scouting community that, are connected to teams, and they just say they talk about their favorite team and they just say I hope we don't take him.
He's my biggest fear of 13. I'll be honest. He's my biggest fear of 13.
I'm just not a fan. I got James Pierce higher. I know he's got character concerns, but give me the guy with the character concerns over what I see with Mikel Williams. 20. Omarion Hampton slides out of the first. Emeka Buka to the Denver Broncos. I know they're looking at adding a receiver to that core to pair to Cortland Sutton. They want to help out their young quarterback as much as possible. Number 21, Pittsburgh's missed out on Shedeur, and Derek Hartman screams,
"Oh yeah,
Pittsburgh Steeler pick to me if they're not going quarterback." 22, Luther Burden III, man. I think that could be a deadly combination. Him, Ladd, and I think if Colston Loveland was here, that would have probably been the pick for me if he was still on the board. Number 23, Green Bay, add Calvin Banks. Who are you going to take? Who are you going to start? Rasheed Walker or Calvin Banks Jr.?
Yeah, okay. What a horrible pick they had last year with Jordan Morgan from Arizona.
Yeah, that didn't work out either, right? So 24, me and you both went defensive back, but I went.
That was the hardest guy to keep out of the first round for me was Eamon Warry. Yeah. I'll be honest, I love Eamon Warry, man, and I listened to
Adam and Harrison Smith. They still got Harrison Smith there too, I believe, right?
What's that show with Sycamore and Connor Rogers that I like? The Draft Exchange. They did a mock. They did their 7-round mock, and they had him fall like halfway through the second round. Like, really? He's a guy, like, if he's there at round 2 and pick 48, like, run to the podium.
Dude, they got an old Harrison Smith and Joshua Metellus starting over there.
Yeah, did they even resign Harrison Smith? I think he might.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Oh, they did. Okay.
But Metellus is their box safety, so who's a better option, right? Take this guy. I got the same pick as you, Josh Simmons, Houston Texans.
The same. I noticed.
Yeah. It makes way too much sense. Josh Simmons just makes way too much sense. Would have taken Kelvin Banks if he would have slid here too. Rams. that interior is kind of a mess, bro. Gray Zabel's kind of a perfect fit.
I was wrong on Steve Avila. I thought that guy was
a lot of us were high on him. But look at Gray. Gray's perfect for an outside zone West Coast offense on the interior. He can
awesome
flexibility, right? So I'll take that. Ravens, brother. This again screamed Baltimore Ravens, dude. Tyler Booker, dude.
Yeah, you remember they took Ben Grubbs out of Auburn, and he was their guy for 8 years and made Pro Bowls at left guard. Tyler Booker is a Baltimore Raven. Like, that is it. Yeah. Andrew Voorhees ain't stopping you from taking Tyler Booker. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Me and you both agreed Detroit Lions need an edge. I've got Mike Green's character concerns dropping him. And honestly, I'll take him with the character concerns over Mikael Williams. Same story as earlier with James Pierce Jr. I'm sorry, the tape's just better. I agree with you. Probably second best pass rusher in this draft. Maybe even the best pass rusher in this draft. Now, Malachi Starks, Washington Commanders. Again, you look at that team, dude, that safety room, the cupboard is bare with Will Harris and Quan Martin. So Malachi Starks just makes way too much sense there for me.
Tremendous player. It's one of those things that it's just hard to find where safety goes early. Yeah. I love Malachi Starks. If Miami talking about 13, I'd still like it a lot.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. I would understand
Malachi
it.
Starks.
Yeah. Walter Nolan, his slide stops, and it goes to the Buffalo Bills, the nightmare for us. Me and you both got Josh Carnley Jr. to the Kansas City Chiefs, and then we both have an edge rusher going at the end. You had James Pierce Jr. I got the Mikael Williams slide stopping. Now, let's get into the second and third round, and let's go over highlight picks. We don't got to go over pick by pick, but let's go over some highlight picks. Let's go into your second round. This is how you have it playing out.
Yeah, look, I had the run on quarterback starting Milroe to the Cleveland Browns and Dart to the Giants. I think that those teams are quarterback D teams. To be honest, they probably both maybe like you had them moving up to do so. I have Burden going here, but I love Luther Burden. I think Burden could be a rookie of the year in the right situation. Give me him over Matt Golden 10 out of 10 times. Eamon Warrior to me here. I thought it was so hard to keep him out. Trey Amos to me is a player that doesn't get enough attention of how good he really is. Raiders are desperate. You got Mahomes in that division, Herbert in that division now, Bo Nix slinging the rock a little bit. Jaden Higgins is a guy that, from Iowa State, good size, jump ball type of guy. Bears, I said they wanted Jeanty. They couldn't get him, but they get Travion Henderson's got a lot of good.
Why do you have a star?
Oh, that was because the Bears acquired that pick via trade.
Okay.
Yeah. Saints, Tyleek Williams, and he went down with that injury, but I think Tyleek is a game changer against the run up front. Alf Collins, same type of thing. I've got
Alf sliding. I heard there's serious medical concerns that have been flagged over him.
Okay. Yeah. Look.
Yeah. Go ahead.
He's been a popular name for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Donovan Ezeraku, I think, is a guy that the NFL likes more than the Twitter.
Stud. I love him.
I hate to see him go to the Jets. And that same approach, 49ers, they were heavy after Joey Bosa. They didn't get him. Scorton is a guy that if you watch his Purdue tape, you say top 20 pick. Yeah. Cowboys, they didn't get their guy, but they add another skill position. Quinshon Judkins to me, man.
Love him.
I love him. He's my running back too. I can't believe I had Tyler Booker fall this far. And if this did happen, if the Dolphins did move up to get Tyler Booker here, I would lose my shit because I think Booker's a top dozen player in this league.
He doesn't fit, bro.
I know he
fit what we do. That's the problem.
He's not as. You're right. He's not a good fit.
You're gonna expose his weaknesses, and people are gonna be like, "Why'd you take him that high?" That's what's
Ben Morrison. He's a guy that probably be sniffing around one if it wasn't for injuries. Donovan Jackson's a guy that I absolutely love. Yeah. The Dolphins get
same.
I love Jonas Avenea for us, and that's why I've taken. I will tell you this: that I had someone with good intel that told me that they thought I was too high on Savanea and that he's likely to go at the end of round 2. But I'd be more than happy taking him. I think he solves the issues that we've battled at the offensive line. JT Tuimalu is a guy that I think offers a lot of upside as a pass rusher.
The NFL's high on him.
Yep. Schlesinger is, look, he's the third best linebacker in this draft. I do think that he had a limited, I call him a Billy Manili type player, 1 year wonder, but I do think the traits are there. And I know that teams I respect are all over him. Jalen Royals to me is one of the biggest sleepers in this draft. I believe in the right system, he could be a fucking game changer. Darius Alexander, Seattle was one of the hardest teams for me to mock in round 2 with those 2 picks. But I gave him Alexander. I think Alexander is a guy that can go plug and play in the rotation and defensive line.
And I added more picks to them. How do you think I felt?
Yeah. I look, and then Bucks and Packers go back-to-back corners. I like Thomas better than Porter, but I do think the NFL is going to like his size. Trey Harris is a guy, we've seen Mississippi receivers go around to A.J. Brown and Metcalf have been studs. Xavier Watts, Bills need a safety. Notre Dame's defensive coordinator, I think, is on the Bills staff now. It makes a lot of sense. We talked about Jalen Noel. I think the Panthers need to find Bryce Young a weapon. There you go. Texans, they lost Stephon Diggs even though he was hurt. I do think Stroud needs some weapons. Kyle Williams is a name with a lot of buzz. Braden Swinson, he just screams Baltimore Raven the way he plays to me on the edge. Tate Ratledge for the Lions. They lost Kevin Zeitler. Go plug and play with the mullet dude who is an absolute stud at the offensive line. I think the Commanders are in the running back market. Caleb Johnson is a guy that, if you didn't look at Jeanty's numbers, you'd be like, look at this guy's numbers. Wow, what he did at Iowa. The Bills, they doubled down with Walter Nolan on the defensive line, and they also get Landon Jackson on the edge. I think Kevin Winston, the Chiefs lost Justin Reed. They need a safety on the back end. Winston, to me, is probably a top 45 pick if he plays last season. And then I have the Eagles, like Lane Johnson, can't play forever. I think Ariante Ursary, it fits their mold of drafting, stashing, and then having the next man up. They did that with Cam Jurgens to replace Kelsey. Now he's a Pro Bowler with a contract extension. I think the Eagles go that route, and I'll tell you, man, it gets hard in round 3. That was my takeaway. It gets hard.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and you said Seattle, and I added more picks to them.
Oof.
All right,
they're one of the toughest teams for me in this draft.
So I had them 33 now because of that trade with the Browns to get Shador. I had them going Izaraku. I'm super high on Izaraku.
Great player.
They need serious pass rush help over there. I mean, they got Leonard Williams and DeMarcus Lawrence, and then Uchenna Nwosu. Like, they don't have, So I have them going Izaraku. 34, I got Jalen Milroe. To the New York Giants, Brian Dabble, Alabama connection. I think they see the upside of them. And, especially considering they don't have a run game right now, that makes a ton of sense.
Right.
35. Listen, he went higher than I had him ranked on my big board. But again, I just went over with him with you. I got Jalen Noel to the Titans. Me and you had him taking Luther Burden. I have him already gone on my board. But Jalen Noel, again, I just look at that. You're wanting to help out Cam, and that's an exposed potential receiver. Tyleek Williams to the Jags. They missed out on Mason Graham. They turn around. They get the kid from Ohio State. Amarian Hampton, the Vegas Raiders, they need a ton of help at running back. I think Raheem Mostert is not going to be enough. There you go. Jahad Campbell, bro. I told you I had him fall into the second, and then this happened, and I'm like, oh my God, that's like the perfect fit. Like in the second round.
I hate that for us.
Vrabel would be like, oh my God. Chicago Bears, I got them. They need I actually had them. Check it, follow me, walk with me. It says OT, and people are gonna say reason. I mean, they upgraded their offensive line. What are you talking about? They got Joe Thuney, bro. I think this is potentially to replace Braxton Jones at left tackle. I've got some intel that there are some teams in the league that legitimately view him as a left tackle due to the playoff run with Ohio State.
He was the best offensive line in the college football playoffs. He was the best player. Yep.
So there's teams that legitimately view him as a tackle. So that's what I have him here as going as a tackle. I got Tumalu, New Orleans Saints. They need edge help. They're kind of weak up front. Caleb Johnson, Chicago Bears. I mean, they need a little bit of a punch to go with DeAndre Swift in that backfield. Caleb makes a ton of sense. New York Jets, they need some corner help next to Sauce over there, and they get one of the best man corners in the draft, Trey Amos. San Francisco 49ers, they took a little bit of a hit on defense right now this offseason, right? I mean, they lost a safety, they lost a linebacker, and then you look at that middle of that defense, Jordan Elliott and Evan Anderson. And then Yetur Gross-Matos and Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
Give me some spice to that front. And there you go. Darius Alexander, 44. Maxwell Harrison to the Dallas Cowboys. They need some corner help. Mason Taylor, this is where I got Indianapolis saying, you know what? Let's take Jalen Walker. It's a deep tight end class. Let's circle back around. Elijah Arroyo or Mason Taylor probably on the board. Boom, there you go. Scorton, I'm not a huge fan, but he makes sense to Atlanta. They need some pass rush help. Carson Schwessinger to the Cardinals. I mean, you know, that makes a ton of sense too when you look at their linebacker core. And then, listen, just by the way the board falls and teams filling needs,
Dude, I would love that.
Level falling to 48. I was shocked. I looked at this. I'm like, oh, geez, let's go. So I got Savon Revel falling to 48. So your defense, bro, you're done, right?
Yeah, I say this. I see a lot of Richard Sherman in Revel, man.
Oh, he's gonna be a stud. He's perfect for what we do defensively too in terms of coverage, bro. Perfect.
He's a dog.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I love him, bro. Dude, honestly, if he played this year and he went to the combine,
top 15 pick.
He might be the second corner off the board after Travis Hunter. Right? 49 Bengals, they need help at safety since they had an exodus a few years ago in free agency. I got them getting one of the best instinctual guys. Seattle, they need more help on that offensive line. Jonas Savea-Nea, sorry, Dolphin fans. Trayvon Henderson, the Broncos stayed steady, and look at who they pick up in my mock draft. They get Emeka Buka and Trayvon Henderson. That's pretty freaking good.
Build it for Bo. Yeah, give him Bo weapons. Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty good. You know what I mean? Instead of spending Hampton on 20, come on, bro. And I think you're right. I think they're going to do that. I think it's just ludicrous.
Yeah.
Kevin Winston Jr., Seattle. Look I'm having to make Seattle big. Look at the Seattle picks I'm having to pick, bro. I'm going 3 already, and I'm 18 picks in, bro.
Yeah, but I do think Seattle is a good trade down candidate. I saw what you did. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Get ahead of Pittsburgh, right?
If you need an interior offensive lineman, like go get a pick and get, you know.
Yeah, and then I agree with you, Benjamin Morrison, first round grade. If not for the injury, Tampa Bay Bucks need corner help. Darian Porter, didn't you have Green Bay taking a corner?
I don't remember, but I had Porter going to Tampa right before it. I know that. Okay,
so there you go. So. I got Chargers. I know you had them getting Kenneth Grant. They got a big need at defensive tackle. TJ Sanders, baby.
Yeah.
Now, I might be a little higher on him than other people are, but whatever. Landon Jackson to the Carolina Panthers. They still get a freakish athlete of an edge rusher by sticking around in the second and not taking Jalen Walker. There you go. So, there you go. Trey Harris to the Houston Texans. You had them taking a wide receiver too, I think, as well. Olu Oladajo to the Baltimore Ravens. Edge rusher is a need over in Baltimore, and you say that name 5 times and you realize it is a Baltimore Raven name.
They've had two Femis on their roster in the past, and he goes by Femi, so that makes sense.
Wyatt Millum. Detroit lost Zeitler, right?
Kevin Zeitler. And look,
Zeitler,
Millum was a guy literally 4 months ago that was going round 1. I'm just like, you know what I mean? He really was.
Yeah. Princely Human Lane. Now, I think we might be higher on him. I've heard he's going to drop a little bit. I think me and you might be higher on him going in the second. Andrew Makuba to the Bills, bro. I hated it when I did this, bro. Look at the Bills. I've given them Walter Nolan and Andrew Makuba. Look at what I built for the Patriots right now. I'm freaking out here building winners, you know? Jesus, Jahad Campbell and Will Campbell for the Patriots, and now this? Oh my God. Shamar Turner to the Kansas City Chiefs. They're getting old. Chris Jones is old. They need help. And then Philly, man, you had them taking an offensive lineman in Ursary. I think Mekhi Becton leaving, Tate Ratledge on the board. They love their Georgia guys. That comes off to me like another Howie Roseman swipe.
Right.
So,
heck yeah, man.
Okay, no, let's not go through every pick like we've done the last 2
rounds. All right, we'll hit the highlights here.
Okay, here, because now we're into round 3, and then we got to do our 4 to 7. So here you go, round 3 for you.
Yeah, let's see. Tyler Shaw.
And I like your Belton pick, by the way. I'm just seeing this now.
Yeah, I think Belton has a lot of upside. Evan Neal's been a complete bust for the Giants. Tyler Shook to the Raiders at 68. I do think they're going to need a quarterback to back and develop behind Geno. We talked about my love for Quincy Riley earlier. I got him going to the Bears here at 72. Jets with a nice steal here, getting Makuba. That would be a blow. 76 Cowboys. Marcus Bowe is a guy that I like a lot, and I actually think that he's a guy that if we could get our hands on, I'd be interested in.
I love you, Neal.
Pick 79. Deion Walker. Like, I know what the flags are, but there's still the talent there, man. Like, if somebody gets him in the right scenario, this guy can be a complete game wrecker. So we'll see what happens there. I don't think the Colts believe in Anthony Richardson. They've sniffed around Quinn Ewers a lot. I think that
you got him taking Ewers?
I have him taking Ewers. I'm trying to get to anything good here. Lathan Ransom, who I said I liked earlier for the Rams there. Charles Grant to the Ravens. Ronnie Stanley did something.
Sorry to cut you off. Who was the quarterback they took in the Herbert draft? Was it Jacob Easton? Who was it?
Jacob Easton from Georgia, the guy who transferred to Washington. Yeah.
That's what that Quinn Ewers pick gives me vibes of, eh? Remember how people were like, I had Jacob Easton like my quarterback 6 or something like that. Like, that's anyways, continue. Sorry.
Cam Scatabo is a name that everyone will recognize from Arizona State to the Vikings in 97. 98 Dolphins. I love CJ West. I think CJ West is a day one starter in this league. So my haul would be Will Johnson, Jonas Savanea, and CJ West, which I think is a really good, day one and day two. Yeah. No player fits the mold like the 49ers and Jeff Bassett, just like Fred Warner. Like to pair him to be Dre Greenlaw's replacement. And I do think the Rams need to start developing a corner. Colin McCord makes a lot of sense. And then the last guy I end up with is your guy that you mentioned as a sleeper.
Yeah.
Like the Lions, they struck out on Okudah a few years back.
I like it.
They lost Carlton Davis in the offseason. I think Za Frazier is a guy that could develop in Detroit and be an eventual starter.
I had them taking a corner too. I like it. I like what you did there. All right, you ready? I got trades, and I got the Dolphins making a trade in the 3rd round right now. Okay.
Wait, is this you too?
No, this is about to come up right now.
Oh, I was gonna say, I was like, damn, did you get CJ West too? I was like,
no. So this is what I got. I got Alfred Collins to the New York Giants. I got a running back Quinshon Judkins to the Chiefs. It makes a ton of sense. You had Ursary going off. I had the Browns taking them. Boy, I like Jaden. I had wide receivers going back to back. Jaden Higgins to the Raiders, man. Come on. And Kyle Williams to the Patriots. Look at the draft I've given the Patriots. Will Campbell, Jahad Campbell, Kyle Williams. Thank you. A guy who I'm higher on. We put Central Arkansas, not the team. Obviously, there was a screw up, but at 70, I don't know how high you are on him, but I'm super, super high on David Walker.
Yeah, I like him a lot as a rotational pass rusher.
I've been going to the Jacksonville Jaguars in this situation. That's who 70 is. Miami Hurricanes fans, Elijah Arroyo to the New Orleans Saints, but let's go. So I got 74. Let's go to 74 here. I got the Dolphins trading up. Now you're going to say, what did they give up? And this is what they gave up. The Dolphins trade 224 and a 2026 3rd round pick to the Carolina Panthers for 74.
Okay.
I looked up the value.
Marcus Bowe would be a freaking great player.
And why did I take him? Could play guard on the right side, so you don't have to move James Daniels. So you can move James Daniels to the left side and put him next to Patrick Paul if you want. Give him a veteran presence next to him. Or if Austin Jackson gets hurt, who can you kick to right tackle, bro? Marcus Bowe. Right? Yep. So I really like Demetrius Knight as a replacement to San Francisco for Dre Greenlaw. Dallas Cowboys, Jared Wilson. I think that's a good one too.
Damn, Deion Walker. We had the same thought.
Deion
Walker, 79. That's where I had him, to the Texans.
Yeah, to the Texans. Yep. Colts, they get their tight end, right? Terrence Ferguson. Where are we at here? I like this. Pittsburgh Steelers, Cameron Scatabo.
Good fit. And they lost Najee, obviously.
Yeah, bro. I like that. Gunnar Helm to the Chargers at 86. Who else do I like here? Ty Robinson to the Seahawks with that trade. Oh my God, Seahawks! I'm Seahawked out. Jalen Royals to the Chiefs because
That'd be an awesome fit for Mahomes.
You know,
wow.
98. I had us taking Dylan Fairchild.
Old wrestling background, tough dude. I like Fairchild a lot. He's versatile.
The reason why I got Fairchild there is because he could play guard or center.
Mm-hmm.
So I have him double dipping on guard. Buddy, I like this fit. Savion Williams as the new Debo in San Fran.
Dude, I 100% makes a lot of sense.
Tyler Shuck to the Rams at 101. And then me and you both had corners at 102. All right. Now,
do you remember when Denzel Burke was a top 15 mock draft at the beginning of the college football season?
Yeah. All right. Here's how you see rounds 4 to 7 playing out.
Right. Yeah. Jordan Phillips doubling down on defensive line. I had him taking CJ West. Jordan Phillips to me, explosive, ton of upside. I do think they're going to double dip on the defensive line in this draft. It makes a lot of sense. Running back Damian Martinez, they had a private workout with him at the local pro day. I think they need a third running back to kind of even out that roster after losing Mostert and Jeff Wilson. I think Martinez is a player with a ton of upside. Losing Durham Smythe, he did a lot of the dirty work, and Jackson Halls isn't going to catch passes in the Tony Gonzalez mold, but he's a down and dirty, hand in the dirt block and tight end, and I think we definitely need less Julian Hill on the field, the better for me. In round 5, Antoine Powell-Ryland, I think he is explosive off the edge. I think he's one of the most underrated players in this draft, and I think they're going to need some depth there. I don't have a lot of faith in the long-term future of Bradley Chubb. Brandon Adams is a cornerback from UCF that the Dolphins have been all over. I think he just fits. They need some depth at corner. Kayante Hamilton from Rutgers is a DM that they had a top 30 with. I have drafted 3 defensive linemen. I think every one of them could make the roster, to be honest, with what their depth chart looks like right now. And round 7, I have drafted another local guy from the Pro Day who I think it could be a good fit as the last receiver on their roster, special teams type player, and that's Samuel Brown from the U.
I love it, man. Why didn't you name Ryland as your deep sleeper earlier when I asked you?
Yeah, I know, dude. I will tell you this: you're going to be impressed. I did all of this without my sheets or computers in my head. I did this all out of my head. My mock today, this 3-rounder, off memory.
Boy. I love it. All right, this is what I had. I had McCord at 116 to the Miami Dolphins because, as you can see, I still had Quinn Ewers on the board, who we know the NFL loves. I still have McCord on the board. I still had a bunch of quarterbacks on my board still at 102, right? Kyle McCord, 116. 135, I think a really underrated safety
Love him.
In this class is Craig Woodson out of Cal. I think he's a really good player, bro. I think he's a little underrated. He actually made my safety big board. He was my safety 12, right? I think he's one of the biggest sleepers in this class. The guy runs a 4.45 40, 6 foot, 200 pounds.
Right.
Yeah. 3 spot. He could play on the perch, in the box. He could play in the slot. I like Craig Woodson. I think the upside is really good. And I got his double dipping at safety, bro. Yeah. Jack Kaiser at linebacker. Again,
I like Kaiser a lot.
Yeah, another guy who I think is a sleeper. I got his double dipping at a few spots of needs here. And I think Kaiser at 150, I think that's great value. Adds to a room where there's not a lot more than 1 year deals. Hunter Wooler at 155. I think Ashton Davis is an unknown. Melifanu is an unknown. You don't know what you have in Patrick McMorris. You don't. Elijah Campbell, is he ever going to be anything more than a special teamer? So you got really 3 legitimate starters, and 2 of them are unknowns, and 2 of them could get injured. So, I'm double dipping at safety there. Number 231, Taj Brooks. They need a little bit of a bigger back. He makes a ton of sense. And then tight end, again, this is just a flyer.
Dude,
Alabama, CJ.
I got a story about CJ Dupree. I don't know if you know this. He transferred in from Maryland. He has the second hardest handshake I've ever felt. Number 1 is John Taffer from Bar Rescue. I literally think he gave me nerve damage when he shook my hand once. But CJ Dupree is a guy that I think when you look at the dirty work tight end that I said earlier, he is a guy. I like him a lot, man. you know, and he was in Alabama's system. Like, you know, he knows that, you know, he knows his role. Like, he's not out there to go catch 50 balls a season. You know, he makes his, you know, money by doing a lot of that dirty work that Durham does. I like him, actually. I think he's an underrated prospect in this draft cycle.
Yeah, man. So let us know in the chat. Give us your grades. How would you grade Neal's draft? How would you grade my draft? Man, draft's only a few days away. I'll be live tomorrow night with Doug Lee. We'll be doing the starting lineup. We'll be doing some mock, and then Thursday the draft's here, and I'll be live Thursday and Friday for the draft. Saturday we'll be live after day 3 concludes. We'll recap the day. Sunday we'll hand out some grades. But any thoughts, man, before we get to the draft?
Dude, I'll tell you, man, that's a lot of talking. I don't know if you remember back in the heyday. I'm a little older than you, but during my Hulkamaniac wrestling days on Saturday mornings in between commercials, there was always the guy that did the Micro Machine commercials, and he could talk super fast. And I'd be like, oh, like, dude, that's how I feel right now. I'm actually hoarse because we just talked about the draft so much, but I can't wait, man. I think there is an unreal feeling when your team's on the clock, the player selection comes on the bottom, the little jingle hits. And if you take it naturally, you don't look at your phone, that anticipation from when the Goodell's fumbling with his ID card to making that call, like, to me, that's like, that is high level anxiety. Like, that's the thrill of the draft to me. Like, I will be watching the draft. I will have my phone off. I will not be very active on Twitter or anything like that because I hate getting the picks tipped to me. I like taking it in authentic and taking it real. And, you know, I've always find myself with my phone in my hand, like peeking when the Dolphins are on the clock, but I just got to take it naturally and let the fucking good times roll, baby.
The Panthers are lighting up the Lightning right now, bro. 5-1.
Good.
Hurricanes, who I love.
Panthers East showdown. Let's go, baby.
Senators and Maple Leafs. You remember those battles from the 2000s?
Dude, it's
2-2 right now.
If you're not a hockey fan, do me a favor and just watch playoff hockey and thank me later.
Yeah. Man, the Avalanche lost tonight too.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, is there any I think there's you know what sucks? I noticed there's no late game tonight.
Yeah. Dude,
right?
My favorite.
How was that Oilers Kings? Did you watch that Oilers Kings game?
I didn't.
6-5. Like, that was crazy, bro.
Dude, it's awesome. Yeah, I love the hockey playoffs, dude. I like.
Yo, my the place where I buy my cards, he's massive Oilers fan, brother.
Is he really?
Oh, buddy, you can't tell him McDavid doesn't crap gold, bro. You know?
McDavid is good, but he better win.
Yeah, really. All right, man. Thanks for doing this, guys. Catch me tomorrow around 7:30. I'll be live with Dougley. We'll do some mock drafts, and we'll do the starting lineup. So make sure you tune in for that. As always, you know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day. Appreciate all y'all. Thank you, and we'll see you.